I'm Andrea Bednar, and I am currently living in Fairview, Texas, although I'm originally from Panama, via Minnesota, via Wisconsin, via Houston. My family moved around a lot when I was growing up. My profession is that I'm the CEO and founder of a company called PoP Associates. And a lot of times people ask me, oh, okay, what is PoP? Is this, like an honor for your dad? No. It's PoP stands for the practice of practicing. Because my work is really about what does it take to do the things that one needs to do to have a life that you really love. And those are all practices. So that's what I do. I've been a performance consultant for about 25 years now, mostly working in the Fortune 500 and honestly mostly the Fortune 100. And so my job was really, how do you have people perform at the top of their game? So I wasn't a strategy specialist, I wasn't an HR specialist. My work really was specializing in people, but not the HR part, individuals. What does it take to perform at your highest level as an individual without burning out and without burning out your people? So it was really leadership development that led to performing at extraordinary levels. And as I did that work over and over and over again for many years, which I loved actually, I realized there was a couple things that I found no matter where I went, no matter who I worked with, whether I was working on a project that was, worth $100,000 to the people or a $20 billion project, the issues were mostly the same. And that is that when you give people a result, mostly the way human minds seem to work is that we go as fast as possible, directly as possible to achieve the result. And when we do that, we frequently sacrifice what's most important to us or what we believe in. And we say to ourselves, well, when this project is over, then I'll get enough sleep. When this project is over, I'll take the kids to Disney World. When this project is over, I will do my meditation. When this project is over, I'll start exercising. But the problem with business is that the projects are never over. So before one ends, you're already working on what the next one is going to be, or sometimes you do them all simultaneously anyway. So that was one issue. And then the other issue was that despite the fact that people pretty much know what they value and pretty much know what they need to do and know what they need to stop doing, we just don't do it. And if we do it, we don't do it consistently. This is why New Year's resolutions don't work, etc. And why, even as a consultant, we would get hired in and people could maintain what they learned from us, sometimes for a few months, but rarely for much longer than that. Now, that's not bad for business in the long run, but it's not really what we were selling either. And that was the impetus. I realized people already know what to do and they know what to stop doing, and they sacrifice what's important to them all the time to get to some result, and that's never going to end. And so then I went, what if people were focused on the practices instead of the results? And that's how I ended up founding PoP Associates. Well, just in that kind of a question, you can kind of hear the difficulty. Because we're so goal-oriented, we still are looking for what practices will get us to the goal. And we're still not focused on the practice. So one of the things that I do in working with people is we look at what's your intentions. But then we set all of them aside. And then I say to people, what are the things that you know if you did and you knew if you stopped doing would have you be productive, effective, and satisfied? And people always know. Now, sometimes the way they'll tell it to you is they'll give you the goal. Well, if I would just lose weight, then I would be productive, happy, and satisfied. And then I say, okay, well, what is it that you already know you need to do about your weight? Well, I need to quit eating so many carbs. Great. How do you make that into a practice? Because a practice is a specific action plus a quantity plus a frequency. So the specific action in that case might be eat no more than 75 grams of carbs 7 days a week. That is a practice. Eat less carbs is not a practice. And so the minute you put it into practice language, one of the things that happens is you start to build in an accountability. So now you need, if I'm really going to do that 7 days a week, how am I going to do that? It's very different than, I just need to eat less carbs, just need to eat less carbs. In the workplace, sometimes it's, I know I really need to spend more time with my people. Great. What's a practice? spend 15 minutes with each person on my team at least every other week. That's a practice. One of the things I just started is a challenge that I call the Business Mastery Challenge. So first, it's called a challenge because it isn't easy. It's also not hard, but it's not easy, right? And why I created that, because I've been doing challenges now, I call them the Well-Being Challenge. I've been doing those for 2.5 years now. And I started to hear people in the challenge would say, I'm pretty good on, like my spiritual stuff, my physical stuff, but I really need to focus on getting my business going. And mostly these were entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, I think we now call them. And so it started to occur to me that maybe the thing really to focus on is, instead of having people look at their whole life, which is what we do in the Well-Being Challenge, that we would narrow that to what are the things you need to do and you need to stop doing to have your business be successful, but that you're not reliable for, right? So I started the Business Mastery Challenge here recently, and I thought if we just have people focus on what they already know to do and stop doing what they know to stop doing, things would, business would change. I was astonished at the results in 1 week. By the end of the first week of the challenge, people already had new business from stuff they had done in the beginning of that week, which was really remarkable. So what's happening with the challenge is that people's businesses are expanding, they're growing, everyone is surprised. Everyone is having results that we didn't expect. It's not easy. People have complained already, like, oh my gosh, it's too much. Well, one of the things that happens is when you start doing what you need to do and your business grows, you don't have the capacity anymore to do the things you knew to do and still do all the new business you have. So we have people who already, even though they've only been in the challenge 2 months, are already hiring people to help them do the things they need to do because their businesses have already expanded that much. So I am very excited about the possibility of this. It's a group format, so you have colleagues with you, small groups. There's a daily accountability, which is tough, but makes all the difference in the world. We have consequences because we know from brain science that that's really what helps cement learning. And we have rewards because people feel good with rewards. So it's really working. There's so much that's next. So one is that I want people to be able to do the Well-Being Challenge on their own. So what's next is getting the book out so people can start their own. They don't necessarily have to come through me to do that. I don't want to be the bottleneck for everyone on the planet doing the challenge. What's also next is moving the work that I do with people's values out so that other consultants and other people can actually do it as well. So again, I'm not the bottleneck, because that's the biggest issue I see, and I see this with other people as well, is that when you're the person, you're the founder, you're the consultant, everything kind of has to funnel through you. Well, that's not the way to grow and expand your business. So that's really what's next for me, is getting it out, licensing people to do what I do, getting the book out so people can do it on their own to whatever extent they want to do it, and doing more speaking. So I want people to be inspired to take action, not just inspired, but inspired so that they take actions they weren't already going to take when they walked in the room. So that's it. That's what I'm up to. Maybe this is cliche, but honestly, my husband has really inspired me a lot because he has a very different point of view than I do. And so my husband's view is beauty. He's an artist. I don't see the world through that kind of glasses. I do more now because he's inspired me. I remember we were traveling once and he said, look at the purple on that building. And I look at the building and I can tell you there's no purple on the building. It's a brick thing. There's no purple there. And then I say that to him and he goes, no, but the way the sun hits it, can you see how the purple, all of a sudden purple showed up and I didn't realize I had not seen it before. And I find that completely inspirational. And I find his unconditional support of me, I'm even moved thinking about it, completely inspirational. I've never met anybody who supports anyone else as unconditionally as my husband has for 35 years. There's been a lot. And I kind of feel like if I don't have one about every 2 years, I'm probably not growing the way that I ought to be or the way that I want to be, right? One of the first was getting pregnant at 19 and not being prepared for it, not wanting to be pregnant at 19. I know there's a lot of women who have this story, and it completely altered the trajectory of my life. There was another time when I was 30, and I found out that my childhood had actually been a lie, that my father was living a second life, and we didn't know it. Yeah. And, I found out when my mother put him on the plane to come see us. So I had about an hour and a half to prepare for having all this new information and having the rug pulled out from under my feet of what I thought my childhood had been. But that experience, despite my anger about how I was notified and what had happened and, the lie and all of that, right? I had a level of compassion for people who don't feel like they can actually be themselves and feel like they have to live a lie. And that was really the case with my dad. He didn't feel like he could be who he truly was. He was not just a philanderer kind of a guy. That was not the story. And he hid who he was from the world. He wasn't born in a time where you could be gay if you were. And so he married my mom to cover it up. He had children to cover it up. And what I saw out of that was the lengths people have to go to be accepted in the world, and the increase of my compassion for what it takes to be who you are expanded exponentially. And despite, it took years to kind of work through all of that, right? But my experience of myself was, so is there any place where I'm not being myself? And what's important is, what is your current truth? Not what was your truth 20 years ago or what will it be in the future, but what's currently true for you. And are you really living consistently with that? And if you aren't living consistently with that, what would it take? What would it take to actually be able to be yourself? And that has dramatically informed all the work that I do. I think women have always had power. I don't think we've expressed it very well, and lots of reasons for that. And not that we're just victims of not being able to express it, and not that we should have been doing it either, right? So when I hear the power of women, I hear that on a number of different layers. One is I hear the layer of the individual power of a woman. I think of Malala, of course, and the impact her story has had and she has had. But I also think of the qualities that women bring to the world. And I think about the power of women collectively moving forward. But I know that the power of women collectively moving forward, and where this resonates for me, is not just women, that it really is men and women. And there's only that. There's men and there's women, and then there's the people, the variations of that. And that's it. That's all there is. We don't have that much variety, really. So if women are going to move forward, men move forward. Children move forward. Everyone moves. Everyone evolves. So for me, the power of women is the power of the collective woman and the collective feminine, which is not just women. There is a quote that I really like that's attributed to a Scottish Himalayan explorer, which is then attributed to Goethe, I think, one of his couplets. But it says something, beginning has genius and boldness in it. I know I'm paraphrasing that. But that really, for me, is the key to everything, is taking the first step, however small that step is. And when I'm working with people about their practices, people frequently want to go to having like the final thing, right? Being able to run the marathon. But say, but let's look at what's the practice you could do today. And maybe today, all it is putting on and tying your tennis shoes. And if that's what it is, that is still a beginning. And that is the thing I think I'd most like to leave people with, is everything has some beginning, and it doesn't have to be more than you can handle. It can be exactly what you can do today, and you can do it.